All right, 94.9 WDKB. It is the Small Business Development Webinar Series. We've got Dr. Jock Samise with us, also Ralph from Ralph's Full Service Car Wash, Jim from OLT Marketing, and last but not least, Bill McMahon from the Lincoln Inn and Ferranda's. Gentlemen, all thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
And this is all part of the Small Business Development Center. We've been talking about businesses and how they've been coping during the pandemic. I'm going to let Jock start off and kind of get into this a little bit, this particular discussion. But we always hear the word pivot, Jock, and we've heard it even a lot before we started this recording today. But talking about pivoting in businesses and the pandemic.
Well, of course, everyone tried to figure out what to do when I was going to say something hit the fan, but I decided against that because I'm sure that's a violation. But and most of these people have done things to do that. And today's discussion is really going to be about what did you do then, and more importantly, what items did you learn that you may be keeping going forward? So, Jim, do you want to give that a shot first? So, what was the first thing you did during the pandemic to kind of continue your business?
Sure. The other P word other than pivot was the first thing I did was panic. Because what we do is we make promotional products and t-shirts for large events and groups of people gathering together. So pretty much everything we did was canceled. So after panic set in, I joined the Unites group, reached out to you, and then just started thinking about who still needs products, masks with logos on them. What people, restaurants need something, say, we survived this. We help the taking care of caretakers with some items to sell that help them raise money to provide things to the nursing staff at Milwaukee Hospital, for example. So the other thing we did is, we probably got a little bit lazy. We had our saying every year, Little League called, every year, this department called, and it really got me out of my comfort zone and got me out selling again and talking to people and saying, well, you still might need something and you still may need something. And the response from the local business community of people who still had employees and wanted to recognize them for working through such hard times was really an amazing feeling that people wanted to help another small business who wasn't, having it as good as they did. So the small business community, I think, really rallied, which I think has helped us all looking forward into, the future as things open up. And just that idea of not resting on my laurels, thinking like, oh yeah, every year Little League happens, so I don't have to worry about me. I've got that covered. So it got me out knocking on doors again, which is a good thing to do. And I was just talking with my coworker about, this was one of those good little pandemic accounts that keeps ordering. And, I probably wouldn't have called on them had the pandemic not happened.
Right. So Jim, just a quick question. Did WDKB or Lincoln Inn or Ralph's order anything from you during this time?
B95 did quite a bit, actually. And Bill and I have some things lined up to do. And I don't know Ralph. Right. So, but now I will. Now Ralph's going to be stuck listening to me in a sales pitch sometime. But B95 did some, made I think a really concerted effort to do some local purchasing for some T-shirts and some goods for the runs that they sponsor. So, absolutely.
Well, thanks, Sean. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I know you thought you had me there, Jock, but
I did.
We got you.
I did. Full disclosure, absolutely. I thought I was getting you.
Nope. Right. And like I said, Bill and I've got things lined up, and Ralph's next.
All right. So, Bill,
okay,
I mean, you kind of
Jim and I can hear Bill. So I'm not sure at this point, but my name is Ralph Sherman, and I'm the owner of Ralph's Full Service Car Wash and Detail Center. And from what I heard Jim mentioning, what took place during this past year as far as COVID goes, we're a full-service car wash, which means we vacuum your floors, do your windows, wipe your dash center console, and we do a tremendous amount of detailing. But come the middle of March, we were informed, like many of us, that I'm a non-essential business and I had to shut my doors. So the first concern, like everyone else, was panic and what do you do, because everything keeps coming in, whether you're open or not. You're still paying everything that you need to. But I was concerned not only about that, but my employees also, because we've been here 20 years now and I have a dedicated staff that does very well here. What I had to do during that period of time was we do all the local dealer detailing for all of the major dealers in DeKalb County. But I was unable to continue to do that because technically we weren't allowed to go inside the vehicle. So I had to close that part also. But what we did is we converted a greeting area and a cashier in the back of my business. So when you pull in now, you can actually stay in your vehicle. We can do all the transactions in the back, and then we hand dry everything. I did have help, fortunately, from a very good banker here in town. We were able to get the first round of the PPP, and that allowed me to pay my employees and also take care of the essentials that were necessary and were allowed to be paid for through that program, which was good. What I have seen now, since we reopened again in middle of May, the business has picked up tremendously. And I think the reason behind that is a lot of people didn't do anything last year with COVID or their cars. They became a mess. I have since decided I will no longer do dealer detailing because I'm completely booked up with a retail level. And when you do the dealers, you know, you got to cut them a deal. They're car salesmen. You know how that works. And I just decided that from a standpoint financially, it didn't make sense with me. The implementation of that $5 express wash staying in your car has picked that up quite a bit too, because the people don't have to get out. We dry the cars by hand, and we're booked out probably 2 weeks in advance for our detailing center. So knock on wood, we survived. The customers, you know, we were taking care of them from a safety standpoint. I had someone come in every 4 weeks and do my business as far as, you know, fumigating it and cleaning everything. We had customers wear masks. Up until today, actually, you weren't allowed to come in without a mask, but I kind of leave that up to their discretion now. Some people are still not comfortable if someone is not wearing a mask and you're sitting next to them. So like all of us that are on this interview, it appears that we survived, and I'm very grateful for that and being able to talk with all of you too.
Great. Bill, do you want to chime in here?
Oh, sure. In terms of what did we do to pivot back in the day? The first thing we did, we panicked. I panicked too. And I thought, oh my gosh, who in the world is going to come to the Lincoln Inn at 240 East Lincoln Highway to pick up meals? I don't even find that convenient. So what we did is we moved over to Ferranda's. We moved over to the banquet center, and we started doing drive-through meals. That's the first thing we did to generate revenue and income stream, was just drive-through meals. The community was very supportive. They, I picked out one meal, and if you really wanted to support us, Jim from LLT Marketing, you're going to eat chicken on Tuesday. And Jim would call up and he would order his chicken, and I'd see Dr. Jock every now and then, and Sean, and that's what we would do. We started to proactively reach out to our customers, both our catering customers, and just saying, if you want to help small business, now's your opportunity to do it. Place a catering order. If you have it in your budget and you can feed your staff, then do it. And quite a few of our customers took us up on that. So that got us through the beginning part. In terms of reaching out to our customers, we started doing Snack Pack Mondays. So on Mondays, we would call up our customers, check and see how they're doing, and invite them over, and they'd pick up a meal. So the Snack Pack Mondays, and the biggest thing the change, we did the patio dining when it allowed, but I think the biggest pivot that I've made is I've actually physically changed my location. So the Lincoln Inn is now no longer at 240 East Lincoln Highway, it's over at Ferranda's at 302 Grove. So that's the biggest pivot, and obviously we intend to continue that going forward.
Hey, Bill, did you have a problem losing employees during this time? Other than family, because family's not going to leave you, and you have a ton of family, so keep them out of this. That's
good that I have family. I have. I mean, I think we were pre-COVID, we were about 50 employees, full-time and part-time. And right now, as of today, we're about 17 employees. So we have lost quite a few employees, and some of that is just the hospitality industry. People, we burned out. We have worked more, and I'm sure everybody on this call has worked a lot this year, but we have burned the hours, and I've seen it happen to some of the staff. Is like, I can't do this anymore, 7 days a week. And part of that, what we're doing to combat that is we're no longer open on Mondays. So at least I know that all of us get at least one Monday where we don't have to be in the store.
Right.
So, yeah.
So Jim and Ralph, I know you can't hear me, but maybe somebody could pass this on to him. So who did you go to talk about these different ideas? I mean, did you all just come up with them off the top of your head, or, how did it happen? What was that transition for you like? Who could you talk to?
No, I think it was all me. I'm kidding. It was definitely not all me. I think, the Unites group definitely helped. I think, that misery loves company, and just sitting talking with Bill over a cup of coffee going, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then we started, like I said, I mean, Sycamore High School, for example, we just decided, like, I called them up and said, maybe we should do a graduation gift basket for every kid who's graduating, because they kind of got ripped off this year not having a regular graduation. And they said, if you can find businesses that want to give us, 250 gifts that have their logo and our logo on it, more power to you. And the local businesses were like, yeah, those kids did get ripped off. Let's do that this year. And so, we were literally making up things for people to buy. And again, it was one of those things, and just talking with people like Melissa, who ran the Taking Care of the Caretakers, she's like, if you can really get these tumblers that cheap, we could sell them for this much, and they could pick them up at Lincoln, and they could pick them up at Daddy's, which gets someone going over there to pick up their item that they bought, to help raise money. And now hopefully they're buying a meal when they're picking up as well. So it was like one hand pushing something to the other hand to another hand. And so that camaraderie definitely, none of us made it alone. If anyone says, what does Mark Twain say? If someone says they made an apple pie from scratch, they better have started the universe, because everybody needs something from somebody else first, So everyone working together, passing leads, saying, oh, maybe call this company, talk with them, was really, I think, instrumental. None of us did it alone, for sure.
And I know, Jim, it was kind of an odd thing. I didn't even see this happening, but even when the pandemic started, we had to cancel DeKalb Corn Fest. We wound up selling these canned Corn Fest T-shirts, and they went bonkers. I mean, they went crazy. If you would have told me that would have happened, I probably would have called you a liar, so I'm glad you didn't say that. But, it was just things like that. And there are businesses that survived and flourished through this, and I'm not saying that you're one of them, but things like that I didn't think would even, I had no idea they would be so successful. Things like that, those ideas that happened, I'm sure that didn't hurt your business at all.
No, that Cornfest shirt, typically we go down to Cornfest and sell about 300 shirts over the 3-day weekend. This year we sold 1,200 of them. We shipped them out to, I think, about 25 different states. And it said, as Sean just said, Cornfest, we canned it this year. The new one we'll be releasing soon says opening up a can of Cornfest, and the music and the notes flying out of the can. And to sell 1,200 of those, we were so grateful. And I think Cornfest gave away $3 per shirt to Opportunity House. And even though, like he said, we didn't flourish, we still felt like, hey, this was something we never expected. So we donated an extra $1,000 because it was like that. None of that money would have been there without all these people. Like, I mean, the emails like, oh, I remember Cornfest as a kid. My dad still goes. My dad was a teacher. Like, the notes that people put in showing their support for DeKalb and for Cornfest was unbelievable. And now we have, 1,200 names that we can say, here's the music lineup for next year. Come on back. Maybe they'll come and visit this year, because they can travel again. So I think it's going to be a surprise how many people love Cornfest. Was amazing to see. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we lost
Bill, first of all, can you get some Crisco oil and oil your chair there so it stops squeaking?
Sorry about that.
So, Bill, can you follow up on what Jim said as far as
sure.
I forgot my question. It's been so long because Jim just didn't shut up. But whatever that question was.
The question is, who did we talk to and who did we go to when all this hit? Did we
Thanks for paying attention, Bill. I appreciate that.
I wrote it down because I know I have to transfer this to Ralph.
Right.
But who did we talk to? And I was like with Jim also. Cohen Barnes contacted us right off the get-go, and we were part of the DeKalb County Unites team, and we would do the Zoom meetings. I went to many virtual meetings with the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce and other business people. I did other restaurants. Part of my role on Unites was to reach out to the other restaurants to see what they needed. So Jeff Dobie from Fatty's, he took half of the list from the DeKalb Chamber. I took the other half. So I reached out to personally, and Jeff reached out to half the restaurateurs in DeKalb. I reached out to the other half. So I've talked to other restaurants about what are you doing, how are you structuring this, what are you doing about tipped employees versus non-tipped employees. So other restaurateurs, and we all work. We all hold our cards pretty close to our chest, but we all kind of communicated and shared information, what was working. We did a lot of SBDC webinars, and we do a lot of, I'm a part of restaurantowner.com, and once a week I'd be on a webinar with what's working across the country, what's working, what's coming up, what about SBA grants that are available, all those things there. So that's who we talk to. You want to go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so was the association the most helpful to you, Bill? Because the ones in Chicago you saw all the time. That association was trying to do something for the restaurants. Was your restaurant association? Did they do a lot for you guys?
I think the National Restaurant Association, they did do a lot. They're the ones that pushed for the restaurant relief fund and things that are happening there. So yeah, they did. The restaurant relief revitalization funding program came out, and Congress allocated $28.9 billion for restaurant relief, which is good. Unfortunately, there was requests for about $70 billion worth of relief.
Right. And just to pick up on the Unite, since you guys have mentioned this before. So DeKalb Unites was kind of like a ragtag group of people getting together when the pandemic first hit to say, okay, what can we do in the community to make this thing better? And, part of it was educational, part of it was psychological, all of it was about support. But to me, it was about community. And it was just amazing to me to this day how the community kind of came together and really just backed each other up. It was just great. So
can we still get that question over to Ralph that Jim and Bill answered?
Sure, Ralph. The question's to you now, and the question is, who did you talk to when all this hit? Did you come up with all your ideas yourself, or is there an association that you were with?
No, there's a few different avenues I went to. There's an International Car Wash Association. They're based in Chicago, Illinois, and they cover the entire country. I spoke with them, and there weren't a lot of different things I could do other than get that exterior-only wash going, and that's what we had to do because of the fact we can't go in the cars. Fuller Car Wash has about 27 locations within the Chicagoland area, and I built a relationship with them when we built this car wash because all of our equipment is distributed through Fuller's. So I was able to talk with Matt Fuller, my banker, obviously. That was a big help for me. I also have something called, it's on a Facebook, but it's called talkcarwash.com. And any questions you may have, you can post on there and you get response from about 10,000 different members. So basically we had to ride it out and just get back to just doing the outside of the cars. And I didn't have a choice. I couldn't open my doors for anything else, similar to what you guys had to do. You couldn't have sit-down restaurants and stuff like that. But I think in regards to all of us, we have a very loyal customer base, and we're also somewhat exclusive in what we do. So when we were able to open up, people welcomed the fact that we were here again. I've been to Bill's restaurant multiple times. It's beautiful. I love the new location. And I think I'm getting that same response. I put some direct mail out once we opened up again. We're doing Twitter, we do Facebook, Snapchat, all of the different ones to let people know. And fortunately, our car count is up about 2,000 cars during the first 4 months of the year. So all we had to do was ride it out. We're fortunate with employees. I don't know if I mentioned that before or not. I know that's very difficult for many different businesses, but we've been lucky, both good and bad. The students are doing remote learning. So I've been able to hire a lot of the high school students to work a half a day with me. So we've got 35 employees right now. We were down to 12 during COVID. So
wow.
It was a challenge like all of you have faced. So
yeah.
So I mean, when this first happened, number one, did you think it was going to last as long as it did? And number two, did you think you were going to be able to survive?
I can answer quickly since I was answer shamed, Jock. No, my whole goal was, my first reaction was, this is going to slow down the supply chain. So I reached out to Northern and said, hey, there's not going to be red stadium cups come August. We better get them right now. That was my first thought. Then when I realized it was settling in and that was not going to be the issue, I'm like, well, if we can make it to July, we'll be fine once July comes, because then the students come back in August and things will start opening up. And then July came, thankfully Cornfest did. And then I'm like, maybe it's not going to be better soon, So the fact that we're, a year later than when I thought we would be back to normal and we still made it, I'm totally shocked by. But yeah, I thought it was going to be much shorter in duration than it was.
Right.
Okay. I'll take a crack at it, Jock. The question is, did I think that this would go on for so long? When we originally were supposed to close for 14, 21 days, I thought, oh, this will be great. It'll be a vacation. but I kind of knew that this was going to morph into something more. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that it's a year that we've been doing this. So no, I'm not surprised. Just when you talked about especially when they came out with the 5-phase plan and they said phase 5 is not going to come until there's a vaccine, and we didn't have a vaccine, you knew you were in this for a long haul.
Right.
Did I think I was going to make it? At times, no. No, I've gone the gamut of talking to my financial advisors about, what is in my retirement account. Should I pull retirement out to avoid bankruptcy? I've talked to my bank about, bankruptcy. Do I do it? And I think I bank with Resource Bank. They were very good. The guy, he's looking at me, he's like, Bill, you're not a bankruptcy candidate. And I'm just like, but I'm looking down the road. Today you might look in the accounts and they might be positive, but banquet centers, we book a year out. And what was really scary for us here in the banquet center is last March, not only could we not sell a cheeseburger or bacon and eggs, but there were no brides coming into this building to plan their weddings, which usually are a year out planning. So that's my supply chain. My supply chain has been hugely disrupted. It'll be back now. The restaurant business is, you'll stop by and you'll say, oh, the restaurant's doing quite well, Bill, but the banquets are off and they will be off for another year. Fortunately now we're in phase 5. So the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce will actually say, yes, we are having an annual dinner, and hopefully they'll look at places like this to do that. I love all this going virtual stuff, but whenever I would hear that, I'd be like, oh, I'm going virtual. I'm not going to sell any food to that. So I didn't think I was going to make it sometimes. At this point, I'm optimistic. I think that we will make it. I think that this will be a tough year for my business because the banquet revenue will be off for another year, but we'll make it.
All right. You want to ask Ralph?
Ralph, do you want to take a crack at the question? Did you think that this would go on for as long as it did when it started, and did you think you were going to make it?
Well, I didn't think it was going to go as long. I was pretty much facing it for that couple of months, thinking that was bad enough. Based on my age, I wasn't ready to start yet another career. I was going to do whatever I could possibly do to make this go. If it meant the only thing I did was just washing the outside of cars and backing down to 2 or 3 people, I was going to go that direction. Again, I think the fact with all of us that we've got customers that we're just waiting for us to reopen and have the doors come through. I take a look at 2019 versus 2021, and we're ahead of where we were prior to COVID. So I was extremely nervous. I had nothing to do. I don't know if you guys can appreciate that or not, but 2 months after you've cleaned everything, you've done everything, you've changed the way you operate, you kind of run out of things to do. So yeah, I was going to do whatever I had to do to make this thing survive. So just went on a little longer than I had anticipated.
So what was your big takeaway from all what I'm always about the lesson learned. So, what was the lesson that you learned about all of this? And are you prepared if this ever happens again?
You go first, Jim.
That's a tough question there.
Yeah. I would say, we're not a bigger business than before the pandemic, but I think we're a better business. Little things that we just let slide, like, oh, there was, this had to get overnighted to get here on time. We can just pick that up. Like, I started realizing how much we literally just gave away to people, so I think our pricing model changed a little bit. So I think we're a better business. And like I said, to me, the biggest thing was we just kind of had our core group of customers. We didn't call on people for a while. I mean, if I saw somebody at a chamber event or a networking thing, of course, I would say, hey, we can do that for you. We can help, but never proactively going out and trying to dig up business. So I think we're a better business because of the new businesses that we found. I'm like, if we found those during a pandemic, how many more are out there? So I think we're probably a better business than we were a year and 3 months ago, for sure.
Great.
All right. And I'll take a crack at it. The big takeaway I got from this, and what lesson did I learn? And are we prepared to weather this again? A lot. I'm drawing a blank. I mean, I don't think, no, I would not be prepared to do this again. I think that thought would scare me. What I learned is the last time the economy tanked and I was in business, I knew I would make it because I was in a good. Hold on a second. I was in a good spot with debt service. I had my 240 East Lincoln Highway was all paid off. Good, bad, or indifferent. When I built verandas, I went into debt for that. So I carry a bit of debt now. So what the lesson I've learned is, let's get my debt structure under control. And and any extra dollars we have now, we're going to go to buy down on debt. Ralph, do you want to take a crack at it?
Sure, I'll just be brief in regards to that. One of the things that we tried to do and we have been doing is any charitable event that is coming up, any auction, any fundraiser, we are heavily involved in all of those. And we were doing that during this period of time. I don't care what that may be. You simply give us a letter or stop by. We stayed in contact with a lot of that at that point. Are we a better business? I think we operate better than we did prior to this. I think that we all learned a lesson that the key to our success is by servicing your customers. And I think maybe you kind of fall away from that when you get in a pattern and everybody's coming anyway. Well, now those customers are extremely valuable. And they always have been. But as I told my guys, you stay there, you make sure you did the job properly. A thank you is necessary. And I think that's made us a little bit better. As far as pricing goes, everything, I don't care where you go right now. You go through McDonald's and I'm not getting out of there for under $10. But we have not changed our pricing at all. And my theory behind that is, do the job, we can increase the traffic. That will come later. But for right now, I'm just very thankful that our doors are reopened and people are coming back through. So,
Right. Sean, did the station suffer? I'm sure it did, but as far as advertising dollars went, but what kind of transformation did you guys go through during all this?
Well, I mean, as far as the radio station goes, yeah, we did lose some advertisers there because some people weren't open, so obviously they couldn't advertise. But we were kind of doing two things. We were trying to hold on and figure out revenue on our end, but also trying to get the information out there about what's going on because it was so fluid and it constantly changed, and there were so many groups and organizations, DeKalb County Unites and taking care of our caretakers, and we were trying to just be involved in everything. We delivered meals for taking care of our caretakers. We did drive-through birthday parties. We were still out trying to do small business shout-outs, doing them for free, just to mention people's businesses so they were on the air, even if it was just a 15-second plug, but just that top-of-mind awareness. And we did those for free because that's how we help our community. And that was really our biggest focus. Like, okay, we may not be making the revenue that we made. We may not even, we may be in the red right now, but we need to focus on the community itself and make sure that those businesses pull through, because if they don't pull through, there's no possible way that we could. So I think that's where our pivot went, is what can we do locally here and help our local businesses, and even try to do some events like we did with Jim, with DeKalb Cornfest and with our 0.1K race at Fatty's. We just kind of pushed through and tried to figure out how to do those things because all those businesses need that. Fatty's needed that. Also, all the sponsors that we had there, they needed to be there. They needed that. Jim needed that. So, just a little event like that happened in half of a day, a 328-foot race, that helped a lot of people, believe it or not, even the charity that we benefited. So that was our biggest focus. So, yes, to answer the question, we did go backwards a little bit, but we had to go backwards in order to move forward where we are now.
Great answer. And that kind of race is my typical race. I couldn't finish it, Sean. The race at
It was the first race that we did that had a 5X. So 300 feet, you can have a 5X.
The question that I had for all of you now just went right out of my head with that. Any parting words from any of you? Suggestions, words of wisdom? I think we got a lot. We talked about how the community has really come together, how we've kind of changed our businesses for the better, and we can keep some of those things going. Getting out of your comfort zone was something. Maybe going forward, not having as much debt, because obviously that would kill you. But do you guys, any of you or all of you, have just some parting words of wisdom that we could share with people? And before you answer that, I just have to say, Sean was talking about doing things for the community. One of the things that WDKB has done is invited the Small Business Development Center on to talk about things like this to help the business community. So even after, this has passed, we appreciate the fact that the station and Sean are still continuing to do those community efforts that kind of help business. So Sean, thank you. I sincerely mean that.
Oh,
So
you're very welcome.
words of wisdom.
Well,
Last chance.
I could go first here and just say that, I kind of saw a common theme based on what everybody was saying, Ralph, Bill, and Jim, that, taking care of your customers is the biggest thing. Bill was reaching out to his customers, Ralph was doing the same thing, and Jim doing the same thing. Because, again, taking care of the people that took care of you a while ago is what was going to get you through this. And even though you may suffer a bit yourself, I think that's the general theme that I've seen come out of this is, if you take care of the people that take care of you, in the long run, you'll survive.
Nice.
I'd agree with that, Sean. And also, yes, taking care of your customers, but also we have to take care of our staffs. If you look around, there are some restaurants that just closed up when we did there, and unfortunately, they lost their staff. There's a couple local ones, Tavern on Lincoln, they just closed up, and probably financially, that was. I could look back and say financially I'd be better off if I just closed off, but we didn't. We kept as much staff as we could, and now fortunately when we reopen, albeit a smaller staff, we still have some staff. So yes, take care of your customers, and then take care of your staff that we often always take for granted. So that's my parting word of wisdom.
I couldn't say it any better. Than the two previous comments. Take care of your customers, take care of your employees. And I guess for me, the big thing is I really want, and if this ever happens again, is people to realize that the business owners in our community want to work their way out of this, not borrow their way out of it, not grant their way out of it. We just want the chance to work, to open our businesses and welcome customers and welcome employees and say, let's get this done, and the grants definitely help. The PPP that Ralph mentioned were essential. But I don't think any one of us on here would have preferred to work to the grant. We would have rather just been open and get it done. So to me, that's the big, final word, like let business owners work. We really love serving the community. We love employing people. Let us do it.
Bill, you want to run that one by Ralph real quick?
Sorry,
Ralph,
Sean.
Ralph, we're looking for some parting words of wisdom. So, do you have any parting words of wisdom?
I heard what everyone had said. I agree with Jim. I think one of the things that I looked at, and I'm sure you all can feel the same way, is there are employees that we all have that have families. They have mortgages. They have things that they have to support. And my primary goal at that period of time was to make sure that they were taken care of. And we were able to do that from whatever avenue we had to. And they stuck with us. And in regards to that, I think you build even further loyalty, not only with your employees, but your customers that come through too, and they see the familiar faces and everything else. So, again, I appreciate the fact that I was able to be on the show and speak with all of you. I've learned a little bit. We all seem to go through the same trials and tribulations, but, if you need a car wash, it's on me, guys. You can just swing on by and I'll have it in the counter for you.
Thanks.
It's Ralph's Full Service Car Wash and Detail Center. And thanks again for having the opportunity to be on.
Thanks, Ralph.
Sean, I think that Bill may have a natural as a co-host with you. So, you may want to consider that.
I would definitely do that. But I also know where I can get a car wash, where I can get some T-shirts, and where I can get some bacon and eggs, too. So I've learned a lot here myself. But Bill will probably at least say this. I've been a frequenter of the Lincoln Inn since he moved it into Ferranda's. I can walk there from my house, and it is I really do enjoy it. It's great.
And you get a history lesson, too, while you're there concerning the business, which is great.
Yes, you do. All right, guys, I think that's it. Anybody else have any last words before we part today?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you so much for joining the SBDC webinar. We appreciate it. It's 94.9 WDKB.